Welcome to Furred Enemies, the Warhammer 40k podcast that's here at the Grand Narrative. I'm Kevin.
Dennis.
And yeah, we're here at the Grand Narrative. We just finished day one. I am very tired.
I think we're both very tired, but I guess we're a little busy last night, so we were just exhausted from traveling.
Tripping. Yeah.
So we're going to go over, Thursday and Friday. So
yeah, there wasn't a lot that happened on Thursday.
Sure
other than like just getting set up and getting here.
Met the Lord of Wars.
Yeah. I think it's probably just the place to start. So when we got to the hotel, we were able to get checked in. Our hotel room is very nice because it's right next to the elevators. So,
and from what we learned, somehow, luckily, we got into the International Tower, which I've also heard from some friends who come to Dragon Con. This is the tower to be in.
Yes.
Main reason being everyone who's here is in the main hotel, and thus the elevators are packed.
Yes.
Constantly packed, and we have no problems with the elevators. They're empty for the most part.
Yeah.
And they go down all the way to the lowest level, LL3. All of our rooms for 40K are.
Yeah.
The whole, last year we had, there was a few rooms down there.
Yes.
This year,
it is the entire
every
level.
room.
Yeah.
It's crazy how big this got.
Yeah, they changed it up a little bit from last year. There are more locations, more rooms. They're all a little bit smaller.
I think they only have one or two battle groups each.
Yeah.
And thus smaller, but it gives you a more intimate feel, and you get to know your guys in your battle group more because you're the only ones in the room.
Exactly.
And also, when we toured the championships room,
yes,
that room as we walked through
is double the size.
Double the size, and it has the kill team. It had Underworlds. It
Warcry.
had Warcry. Sigmar, and
several streaming tables set up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the other thing we noticed about that was, we walked through and you noticed it first, is, oh yeah, there's the stairs we had, and this was the sanctuary room. Oh wait, that was the manufactory room. Because it has removable walls, so they just open it. So 1, 2, 3, 4 of the narrative locations are now being used by the competitive side.
Yes.
So to extend that, we have even more conference rooms that are the small rooms, but I like it better. I
do too, because they feel a little more personal, as you mentioned. You can go in there and you can meet with your group a little bit more. You can have just closer conversations and things like that. When something cool happens, everybody sees it. So it's just, that part of it is very cool. The other thing I like about it is last year there were 6 localums, and if you didn't get into one, it's there's 6, I'm going to rotate and hit all of these. And it was if I don't get into one, I'm repeating. Now that there's 15, 16, I don't know exactly what the number are, but there's all of these different rooms, all these different environments, you're not going to get into all of them, and you're most likely not going to get a duplicate.
Well, I'm going to admit, I do not mind not getting the magnetic glitter room last year.
Yeah. I did not have a magnetized army, but I know people who did, and they still had glitter in their bag this year.
Which they did say they were not going to use magnetized glitter.
Yes.
I will give you a small spoiler. My second game, there was glitter on the tables.
Really?
Yes. So that room definitely had the glitter again.
Okay. But yeah, there wasn't glitter in my room.
It was not magnetized. So they were true to their word.
It was edible glitter.
I have no clue. I didn't try to eat it.
Yeah.
I don't.
But the setup is a lot nicer. The store setup was a lot more open this year too. They felt like they were using the lobby space a little bit better, because the store kind of went all the way down. All the T-shirts, art, the disc plates, which they had disc plates here, which highly tempted, except I don't have room in my bags. All of that stuff was kind of done on one end. Then there was all of the models and stuff on the other. It felt like they're better utilizing the space this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very good. Like I said, we walked into the World Championships. That place was buzzing. There was just so much going on. And then, we had our first briefing last night. We got to meet the 3 Lords of War. I don't have the names, but I think I have it in
Glitcha.
Yeah, Glitcha was the Mega Knob.
And Big Mech. A Big Mech and a Weird Boy kind of combined. He is crazy, and we posted pictures of him. The Terminator armor we saw last year was amazing.
Was amazingly ornate.
This was a step up from that.
Yes. It's a whole, frame that, he stands tall. He has to have a spotter because he cannot see anything. They had a voice modulator, so like you hear, like he's got his own projection.
Yeah.
Glitch is awesome and very opportunistic, capitalistic. Sell people for whatever. Yeah.
I mean, what I like about him is last year you kind of picked your faction, and I think as we went along, we were like, there's only one real leader we like because he was true to what he was going on.
Yeah.
Because everyone said, like, for the Xenos or Interloper faction last year, it was like, yeah, there's something weird about you. We don't really want to follow you, but because it was kind of shoehorned into the narrative, people had to follow.
Yeah.
And that felt bad. Imperium, the Inquisitor, was corrupted, and it was very obvious.
Ended up getting executed at the end. So.
Right, but the good thing about that was, they turned that like, oh, well, let's change the story here. And then for the, Chaos, he was like, we're going to go kill things, rah! And then like, okay, you're the only one that's trustworthy because we know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, and he's the one, it's funny because he's the one who betrayed us. But at the same time, what are you going to get at Anna's Chaos? Like, what do you expect?
And then this year, though, I'm going to say I like all 3 Lords of War, maybe even better than last year.
Yes.
Because having the big mech orc, who's all about making deals.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, he's doing brutal and cunning. This is great. And then the Chaos one, he came out second.
Yeah, so that was Zar Theod, the Shepherd of Souls, a word-bearer's Dark Apostle.
Whatever.
I pulled the PDF up. I'm going to read the names.
No, that's fine.
Whatever.
He's a stupid chaos priest, I'll say that.
It's awesome. He has this awesome 8-pointed staff.
Yeah.
On the 8 points of the staff are little, skeletons. Very cool.
And then he's got a globe in the center of his staff.
He's got a globe,
that when he calls the different chaos
He's
gods...
pondering his orb.
Well, as he calls the different chaos gods, the orb color changes.
Yes.
So they've got all those lighting effects.
Very cool.
Costume-wise, character-wise, the guy is doing a great job. Yeah. And he feels like a good chaos leader. Well, last year's was also good.
Oh, yeah.
But this year, because he's like calling to all the Pantheon, so it doesn't feel... Last year was definitely kill, corn. This year it's like, we're undivided, so we're accepting of all the Pantheon.
No, that was a smart choice because then we did in our briefings with him. The first one we're like, we're honoring Khorne, so go kill things, and then the next one was we're honoring Slaanesh, so like swiftly identify and locate things. So I assume that we'll have that'll follow through over the next couple of days as well, and we'll honor the other gods by doing various things. So very cool.
Yeah, and then Imperium is a rogue trader.
Yeah, she is named Christoval Dunyest III. And she is a brand new rogue trader who just got her writ of... What's it called? Writ of warrant? I don't think that's right. Whatever, she just got her papers from the High Lords of Terra. I forget what they're called, and I'm not going to look it up because it is way too late at night. The other thing that's interesting about this year compared to last year is last year it was like we all arrived on the system and like we're being called here and there's a thing. This one, it's like, you've been here for 3 years. Like, this battle's been going on for a while, so we're at the final wrap-up stages. So it's very interesting. You're already kind of at the apex, and then it's like, it's ramping up a little bit to the climax, and then, like, you'll get the resolution. So she is brand new into the system because whoever was leading the Imperial forces before was doing a bad job because they've been fighting for a while. So she is definitely clean house and, like, unified the Imperium faction.
And what I like about using the rogue trader with the writ is the fact that it gives her full authority. She can say, okay, you guys are working for me, hey, you guys are working for me. So it's a good way to bring together all of the Imperium forces under a single focal point.
That's the thing that I've always liked about rogue traders or inquisitors in the narrative. Not so much like in the game, because in the game, but like in the game they don't necessarily, work this way.
You just don't like Imperial agents.
No, it's again mechanically there's all sorts of issues. But like the promise of an inquisitor or of a rogue trader is like they have the ability to show up and take control of it, and nobody can say anything. They can do that to Space Marines. They don't typically do it to Space Marines because Space Marines have a tendency to shoot them in the back of the head. But, like, they can.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing I like is that they do have this incredible power over these other groups. And, like, it doesn't last for long because it's never, like, a prolonged thing.
Right.
But you can take control of the situation, and in an event of, like, a 3-day narrative, that's incredibly powerful.
Yes.
But yeah, all 3 of the Lords of War did a great job.
Yeah.
They all were compelling. They all had their cool, like, monologues. And yeah, it was very good. When Glitcha came out, it erupted.
He also, as a big mech, he said, "Yeah, I've got all these things I'm working on, but I've also got me pile of shame building up."
yeah, they talked about his pile of shame, which I was like, ooh.
Everyone laughed.
That's,
a lot of people laughed.
That's rough, buddy.
What, do you not know what he's talking about?
No, I know. I know.
Is building up on the hobby table? Okay, I'll stop.
Yeah. So, that was the first night. As far as, like, us getting the hotel, we got all of our stuff out. Did you have anything that broke in transit?
The call broke off the pedestal from the shrine, but he was held there with 1 foot glued on, so I am totally not surprised.
Yeah.
So, no, that was really the only casualty I had. And it's not a casualty, but it was like, oh, put a drop of glue on. Okay, you're fine.
So, on one end, I didn't have very many casualties, everything, like, model-wise, as I expected. On the other side, I did have a major issue. Angron broke at the waist, like the ball joint on his waist, which is fine. If he's going to come loose in a place, that's the place to do it, because it's easy to glue him back. His sword bent a little bit, but I was able to bend it back. Farsight's wings came off, but they always do. And same thing with my Lord of Skulls, like, arm came off, but it always breaks in a specific spot, to the point that I have just pinned it. It just, now I can slide back on there. Like, right now, it's actually technically broke again, but it's holding in place because of the pin. So, like, it's fine. I will probably either fully magnetize that arm and probably Farsight's wings. I probably need to just, like, go through and, like, drill them out and, like, actually magnetize them so that I can actually transport it. Because the other thing I realized is that Angron, the way I built him into the Riptide, his wings are way too wide and don't set in a 1KR case. So I had to compress him, and that's why his, like, again, it's like, as I opened it up, I was like, I'm afraid the wings broke. Like, that's my fear, is the wings broke somewhere, and the pressure just broke at the joint on the torso, which is fine. I am super easy to fix.
As I mentioned to you before, KR does have KR2s that are, like, double the height.
I need to do that.
They only have puck foam for it, but
yeah. I need to do that for 2 reasons, because I'm starting to have more, like, Angrons, like that, models that are bigger than that. Also, I do eventually want to bring my Townar to, like, the Grand Narrative, because, like, where else am I going to be able to use it?
At home?
Well, yeah, but I don't play games at home. I don't play 40K. I just come to events.
Oh, okay, fair.
That's only a slight exaggeration, because I was telling Dennis, the last game before this that I played was at the Dallas Open.
As opposed to me, who had played a couple weeks ago with my sister's army.
So, yeah. maybe that impacted my performance today. Stay tuned to find out. So the thing that was a bigger problem was my Tau Fire Warrior, my Chaos Fire Warrior cosplay is 3D printed armor, and it's basically, like, designed to be a little bit comically, like, over large and kind of go over the front of my chest. And I've got a cape that goes up behind it and hides the fact that I don't have a back piece. And I've got, like, all these straps and stuff to keep it in place. But it's also very wide. So, like, it is, like, exactly the width of my luggage. So I put it in there, put it on the bottom, wrapped it up, and I was like, maybe that'll hold it and it'll be fine. It didn't. It split right down the middle seam, which is fine. It's a seam, but it did split down there. I'm guessing as well, this is the part I'm not 100% sure on what happened. There's a gap in it. From where it broke. The other pieces seem to, like, go back together there, but the middle piece, the vertical middle piece, now has a gap. So when I tried to JB weld it back together, it wasn't holding because there's, like, a 1/4 inch gap. So basically, over the course of the day and holding it just in place, I was able to kind of gap fill it and make it stick at least, so it is at least functional. It has this giant gash in the middle, which is fine because it's battle damage.
And it's
not a really big deal, but, like, it's annoying to me.
I mean, someone just looking at it,
isn't going to tell. And I know that, but it annoys me.
Do you know that?
But it annoys me. And also, it is much more likely to break again at some point over the next 2 days. And when it splits in half, it's done. I'm not going to be... Actually, I can't re-JB weld it because the JB weld bottle, like, I didn't clean the top off, so it glued itself shut.
My silence was my response.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But also on the other side, it took you hours. We sat in here for a few hours as you were holding.
That was the other reason why we didn't get something recorded yesterday, because we ended up just not like I spent so much time working on that I'm like, I don't want to record. I don't want to talk right now.
Which is fair.
So that was day one. But we got everything set up. We got our armies out. Basically found out where we're going. My first room was down in. It was the Ice World planet, Rogan. I don't know, Rogan, whatever. So it was the ice planet, and our battle group went down there. So that's really cool. Our battle group has been this year has been a lot more active. Joe's prop store on Etsy, who designed my cosplay, he made Nurgle daggers, corrupted daggers for all of the people in the battle group, and then has like 5 or 6 others that he's just giving out. So he gave one to the Chaos Lord of Lore. And then he also put one in, like, the pocket of the orc, which was hilarious. He made those daggers and was giving those out to the battle group. Somebody else made leather imprinted. Basically, it looks like it's skin, but it's, like, just a little leather, like, thing that just clips on your belt, and it has our battle group name on it. Other people were passing out chaos tokens. So very cool. Like, a lot of that stuff going on. But a very, very active group this year, which I like. And hopefully we'll try to see if it works to try to get Joe on probably tomorrow or the next day, just to get his opinion on things as well. First battle was against Atesh in the Ice World, his custodes. He was running not the character one. What are the different you've played custodes more recently than I have. What's the custodes main the good detachment right now? It's not the one with the characters. It's the other one, because it was the mixed one that had Sisters of Silence and the custodes in it. What was the name of that?
I don't recall the name. I think that's just the Talons of the Emperor detachment.
Maybe it is. Okay. I think it was just Talons. I couldn't remember the name. He had like 8 characters. Like, he had so many characters. That's an exaggeration. He had like 5. He would have like a unit of wardens and a blade champion. Yeah. So it was called Blade Champion. Okay. Blade Guard champions in the Space Marines.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I was like, wait a minute, that Blade Guard's not right. So Blade Champion in a unit of Wardens, he had a Blade Champion in a unit of Terminators, he had another one in another unit of Custodes, he had several units of Sisters, and then he had another Terminator with like the Terminator Lord in it. And that mission was very interesting. So all the missions this year are bespoke. They are not in the Nexus Crusade thing, or any of the other books. They are all bespoke for the Cassandra system. And it was basically this mission where you had to break the lines. So you're trying to run across over there and, get to line breaker. And you gain points for every time that you're in line breaker, and then at the end of the game you would score points for line breaker as well. I deployed first because he got attacker, so I deployed first. And then when we went to do the who goes first, he got first turn. So what he did is he immediately moved his entire army, because this is done a war deployment. He immediately moved his entire army to his back line. And on my turn, what I was able to do, the other thing is there was some weird stuff with like shooting. You couldn't shoot over 18 inches, but both of us weren't shooting armies anyway, so it didn't matter. If I actually kind of wish I had played like a guard army in that mission, because I would have wrecked a guard army. But so he moved everything back, and then on my turn, I rolled on the Blessings of Khorne the double 6, which is advance and charge, and the double, which is like +2 movement. So I had like the best case scenario to bomb across the board, and basically my advance rolls were garbage, and I failed like 2 12-inch charges. So I didn't get any assaults done on one either, and then he just counter-assaulted me and wiped the floor with me in rounds 2 and 3, because I think by bottom of 3 I only had 1 unit left. He just ran through everything. Because again, it was one of those, if I had been able to get the assaults on him, all the benefits that Khorne gets or World Eaters get for charging, I probably would have rolled through his army. So it's just one of those like very swingy ones. The twist on this mission, and I assume it's the same for yours, is about halfway through we got a like priority mission update where it was, okay, sorry, we need you to retreat, get back in your deployment zone, and exit the game. I was able to do that with one unit because I had one unit left that was basically everything around it was dead, and he had his entire army that was going to shoot it. So I was like, well, they're going to bug out. So I ended up losing that game 30-0. Did not score at all. But it was fun. I did score my infamy, which was like recovering an artifact. It is really hilarious because the voxel Callum like is explaining how it worked, and basically there's little like artifacts on the table. If you get one, get within an inch of it, do an action, roll a dice. If you roll a 1, bad things happen. And if you're doing fame, the bad thing that happens is you roll off the table. If you're doing infamy, the closest unit to him dies. So I stuck a unit of jackals next to my warlord, and immediately when I set it down, he looked at me and goes, I know exactly what you're doing. And I'm like, yeah, they're 65 points. They're way less important than my warlord.
Well, I'll do my small spoiler here. Yeah, I've got the relic both times.
Yeah.
With my
Same.
warlord.
Same.
I have not died.
Oh, okay. I've died both games. My actually,
So
no,
you
my
roll a
warlord.
1 both times?
No. Okay. Not to the relic.
Okay, I was more just saying
Yeah,
the relic.
not to the relic.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's
Yeah.
it's a 1 in 6. That's pretty low.
Yeah, you'd think. You would think, but
Okay, well, I'll jump backwards then. Also, like Kevin said for his group, the group I requested be as many Votann in the group as possible, and they made it happen. Our battle group has like 8 Votann in it.
there's a lot of Votann. Yeah.
I've heard there's a battle group that has, I don't know if it's a full battle group, but there's about 10 Votann in the Imperial forces as well. Which,
then.
I don't know, I'm kind of happy to not be in Imperial forces because all the other Grand Narratives I have been, and Imperium just does not do well.
Yeah. That's continuing today.
Yeah. But my downside was I thought, well, I'm going to be playing against Imperium all the things because they have twice.
Yeah.
So I got to play Chaos first round. I was thrilled. Although I'm going to jump backwards a minute.
Okay.
Trademaster Talion, one of the guys in our battle group,
Yes.
actually made, like you said, they passed out things.
Yes.
He 3D printed
Those are so cool.
dice cases for everyone in there, and it's got a symbol on it, which is half orc, half Votann symbols. It looks just killer.
Amazing.
And since we were like the 33rd battle group, we called ourselves the 33rd Acquisition Fleet, because we're acquiring things for this orc guy.
Our battle group's called the Disciples of the Eightbound. Or dang it. Of course I just did it, and I'm like, nope, that's not Eightbound, because Eightbound is a corn thing. Our battle group is called Disciples of the Eightfold Path. Battle Group 28.
Okay. And then we have a phrase on there that says discover, demolish, deliver.
Nice.
So, I mean, it's a great pairing of orcs and Votann. So, yeah, so I ended up playing the word bank. It was like a 30-second paragraph. And I was like, and him and I just stayed in character for a bit, and we just talked. I was like, oh, you're so wordy. And he was like, well, yes, we have to like tell you all these things, and then we'll shank you out. And I'm like, I fell asleep. He said, but if you fall asleep, then we can still shank you.
That's true. That is true.
So it was fun having the verbal banter with him as we played along. And yes, ours was exactly the same, is get people in their half of the board.
Yeah.
And the miasma, grumble, you could not shoot past 18 inches.
That's what it was. Yeah.
You could shoot without penalty from 12 inches. So 12 to 18, you're at -1. It's like, oh my gosh.
I know. I really feel bad. Like, I feel kind of cheated that I didn't get, like, a shooty army in that mission. Because I got another melee army. I'm like, well, that's not fair.
And I'm a mechanized shooty army.
Yeah.
Although my troop guns are only 18 inches, so it didn't bother them, but they're troops. They're not the good guns. So I did the crazy thing of, Sagittars, move forward. Scout your 6, move up there. And once again, people, and it makes sense, they're surprised how fast Sagittars are. Because the scout move, because they move 12. And if I want, I can advance with them and still unload my passengers, because that's a Sagittar rule. Mm-hmm. So you can get places. So, on turn 1 is when I had my call go out there and grab one of the artifacts, because the Sagittar is scouted, he's in it, he gets out, it's like, oh, I found this. And yeah, he didn't roll it badly, so he got to keep it. Nice. I shot lots of things, because 2 Land Raiders, I'm gonna say Vindicator. It was the big dump truck looking thing with the gun and like
Yeah, the Vindicator. Vindicator.
And not the Hellbrute, but the one that had the 3 plasma guns. The Chaos.
The Forge Fiend.
Forge Fiend. Sorry.
Forge
Fiend. Well, I don't remember that.
No. You said Land Raider and Vindicator, and I immediately thought of Imperium, and then you mentioned
he's Chaos.
And then you mentioned 3 plasma guns, and I'm like, there's no thing on Imperium that has 3 plasma guns. Sorry, it's very fucking late.
Well, and this is Space Marines with Chaos in the front.
Sure.
And yeah, it was a challenge, but yeah, things that happened in this game. Oh my gosh, his Chosen were MVPs for him. They went through, killed both one Sagittarius turn, another Sagittarius turn. Then he killed off the Iron Masters and some of my troops because they were just making a swath through the battlefield. But my important one was my Warlord, the Call, picked up the relic, got it. He dumped his Legionnaires, came through a wall of a building, said, there he is! He failed a 3-inch charge.
Oof.
He rolled Snake Eyes. Because of that next turn, the Call hopped in a Sagittar that was sitting there, booked it out of there. I then blew the Legionnaire squad off the face of the map. And that was probably the turning point of the game, because he never got to my Call the rest of the game. But the other fun parts is the land fortresses. One of them got to tank shock twice.
Nice.
And it also killed 2 units in melee.
I did tank shock a unit of Wardens with my Mauler Fiend and killed like 3 of them, because I think it's a 4-man unit.
Nice. And so it was just fun having this land fortress. There's a vroom. But like you said, after my Call hiatus out of there and the Chosen were kind of closing in, that's when they said, oh yeah, new priorities escape. So I already had a Sagittar, the Call, his squad, my Hearthguard, one of the Einherjar champions and their squad. So I had like 5 units right away already in my deployment zone. So I'm like, yeah, this turn, poof. And the nice thing is I'd push forward with so much other stuff, I was already gaining points by being in his territory that I was maxing out. I got 20 to his 5, and then 20 to his 5 a second turn. And then he said, yeah, I haven't pushed into your lines, and you've broken mine. And so, yeah, he then kind of fought off some stuff, and then the last turn is the funny part. He decided he wanted to get some points finally, because the only thing I had left on the board, because he'd finally destroyed both land fortresses, and most of my other units that either escaped or all I had left was a unit of Hearthguard, the Warriors. And so they ran away from his Chosen. Turn 5, his Chosen decided, instead of following them and finishing them off, which they could have easily done, they just turned around, went to my half of the board, and was like, I'm getting my little points here. I'm like, these guys are running away at full speed, and then they look around like, wait,
there's one behind us.
So that was also funny.
That's hilarious.
No, it was a fun, great game, and
yeah, games were a blast.
I pulled, like you said, I got the relic, I got the win, and I had 8 at the end. 8 units got escaped. So I mean, I was hands down.
Yeah, my opponent basically he got all of. I think I ended up killing. Oh, so actually he did roll a 1 with his Warlord.
Oh no!
And he died because I remember at the end of the game I was like, well, we each killed 1 character in your army. It was bad. It was not close. But yeah, it was a very fun game. Great opponent. Then after that, we went up to we did the midday briefing, which we didn't get to see the preview, but I figure you probably have opinions. So do you want to briefly mention your opinions on the preview stuff?
Unfortunately, like I said, I didn't see it live, so I got it secondhand. But man, I am excited and scared.
I mean, it is basically the wish list and more of what we had wanted.
Well, my top wish list would be get everything in plastic.
Yeah.
And guess what? We're getting everything in plastic.
And you're getting an awesome Phoenix Lord for Warp Spiders, which is that. Like I said, that's why it's no. This was everything I could have hoped for, because plastic Warp Spiders, plastic Fire Dragons, updated Asterman, Baharoth.
I was halfway surprised with the Baharoth and the Swooping Hawks.
I'm surprised it was this many. I was Swooping Hawks felt like they would have been a kill team release.
That's what I was thinking was going to happen.
So the fact that they're all coming, And also here's another Phoenix Lord for the Warps. That's ridiculous.
I'm pleased with all that, but I heard rumblings and rumors of the Warp Spider X or the Phoenix Lord, so I wasn't as surprised. But what got me is just looking at all the models; they just look amazing.
Yeah, they do.
So
they
why I'm
really
scared is the fact that what's Asherman, Fuegan, Fire Dragons, Baharuth, Swooping Hawks, Warp Spiders. I forgot her name. The Warp Spider Phoenix Lord.
Yeah,
I'll learn it.
Yeah, I don't remember.
7 units and a codex.
Yeah.
That is going to be friggin' expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing me, I won't space it out.
At least you know your limitations.
Yeah, and I'm going over them.
Well, your limitations in this case being lack of self-control. Same. Look, I can't throw stones. I had the same problem. So around the same time, we did our afternoon briefing. So we got to meet with the Lord of Wars. Basically it was like, yeah, everyone's kind of like, plans are kind of going in motion, stuff like that. The cool thing was about those is they each introduced a machine or an artifact that they are trying to collect. So the orcs have I don't actually know, it was like some power thing that they're trying to power up.
Yep.
The Chaos faction has like this altar and they're trying to get like daggers to like put in the shrine. And the Imperial side, I don't know, skulls or something. I don't know. They're trying to get something.
The orcs have locked away their cache of weapons.
That's
so they're
right.
trying to get keys.
They're trying to
unlock
get
the
keys.
cache.
That's what it was. Yeah. So each of these are like physical props that
they're big.
They're big. I put some photos in our Discord, so if you want to join Patreon, you can see those. I've also posted them on my Instagram, the pictures of each of the different devices. But yeah, basically they are light up things. So like you plug something in and it lights up. So what was very cool so far is like the first time they did all the kill team operatives. And I guess we haven't really mentioned the kill team stuff. So in each battle group, there's one kill team specialist that plays against the other kill team player in the other battle group. And I assume that there's some interaction there. Like, I don't know. But I think it's very cool that they're working kill team like into the same thing.
We were originally thinking, since they're tied to a battle group, that it would be their missions would affect our battles directly.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like it.
It more feels like they're affecting the narrative, but at least they're tied to a different group, so they can kind of give you some other things like, yeah, I did this for the Big Mock, or something like that.
So the first round, when they brought people up to like use the key, plug in the power source, insert the dagger into the altar, they brought up kill team people, and then when they did at the end of the round 2, they did another group and like put in the ones that was collected, and they like called out like certain people who had performed well, stuff like that. So it's very interesting that like people are being involved, like they're actively involving them into this process of building up these artifacts. So very cool, very very neat plot hook. Then after that, we had a little bit of a break and we went into game 2. My second game was against Jason and his orcs. I believe, and I could be wrong, so maybe I am. I believe he's the same orc player that you played last year with the awesome like Jurassic Park display board.
Yes, with all those. Well, he was Speed Freaks last year. I don't know if he's doing this year.
But no, so he didn't produce Speed Freaks this year. He's doing Flash Kits.
Okay.
So his army is a giant Squiggoth, 2 units of knobs that were in the Squiggoth, a battle wagon with Badruck and Flash Kits, and then I think he had 2 unit of Storm Boys and another unit of knobs that were in reserve. So he had 2 items on the table to start the game. 2 drops. Big drops. I basically took my heavy list. So I took Angron, the Lord of Skulls, my Exalted 8-bound, my regular 8-bound, and a unit of Berserkers to kind of round things out. And I was able to get turn 1. So this is one where you were like deployed in, it's basically the table quarters deployment with like a...
Yeah. Except instead of the normal round,
not the round, it was more of a flat.
It's a flat line.
Yeah, it's a flat line. And there were some interesting mission rules for this one. You could put down objectives, and you got points for putting down objective markers. And then at the end of the game, you got points for being on objective markers. And if there were fewer than 8 objectives,
fewer than 6.
I thought it was 8.
Fewer than 6, more than 8.
Oh, okay. I remember seeing 8 in there. Yeah. So if there were fewer than 6 objectives, then you put objectives out until you got to 6.
And if you had more than 8, because if each person put 1 down on their turn, you'd have 10.
Right.
you'd peel back 2. So you would always have in between 6 and 8.
So it's very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. And then also there was a rule where at any point in the game, once per battle, if you were below half your army strength, you could bring back some units.
Yeah, my game, we forgot about that, but it's for the better, because if my opponent was super tired, and we got all 5 rounds done, but we ended with like 15 minutes left in the... So we went for 3 hours and 45 minutes. I would have won my game if it wasn't for the reserves coming in. Like, if it wasn't for that rule, I would have won this game, I think. I'm thinking about mine. I don't know I probably would have brought back a land fortress. Yeah. And he probably would have brought back his repulsor. Because you could bring back 1 vehicle or 2 units of infantry or, like... 3 units of single wound infantry. I went first. I literally ran my entire army over and got into melee top of 1. And I did not kill the battle wagon, and I did not kill the squigoth, but the battle wagon had 2 wounds left, and the squigoth had 6. Progress. Yeah. And then I was able to kill them both bottom of 1. Oh, wow, nice. But he'd already disengorged, like, the units and stuff like that, so they were out and about. So it was... You know, I wasn't able to quite contain him into his area. Like, he was able to disembark and kind of get, out move around a little bit. Flash gets, especially with Badrock, are ridiculous in shooting. They shot off my Berserker unit, like, just one go, just shot them off the board. And then basically proceeded to shoot up in, like, half my 8-bound unit. But then I eventually ran into them in melee and killed them. Yeah, it was just fun back and forth. His knobs are very tough. They have a high enough strength that they're able to actually do damage to Angron and my Mauler Fiend and the Lord of Skulls. The Lord of Skulls survived the whole game, but he had 2 wounds left at the end. Angron died to a bunch of knobs, and then I rolled the 3 6s, which I've never done before, and brought him back. Gosh. But, so this is the kicker. I rolled that to bring him back, which put me back above half. So I couldn't bring in my reserves that round. So I had to wait another turn before I could bring them back. So if I had been able to bring in probably the Mauler Fiend at that point, because I would have brought... I think I could have won the game. Instead, I had to wait until he killed another unit, and then I brought in my 8-bound. But by that point, he'd already brought both of his knobs units back, and they ran over it. They murdered the 8-bound because... they have more bodies than 8-bound too. But it was back and forth. It was extremely bloody. It was very close. The final score wound up being 30-15, but that's mostly because I spent a couple turns not putting objectives down, because I was trying to get the infamy, and I tried to make a couple of long charges off of, like, deep strikes that in retrospect, I should have done the objective instead. Do you have reroll charges on those? No. Kevin. How many times? Do not try that 9-inch charge unless you have a reroll built in. It's fine. But it was a very fun game, very close. And like I said, it could have really gone either way, all the way down to the end. But bringing Angron back was fun. Killing the Squigoth, like I said, that feels good. That felt good. I didn't kill one in bottom of 1, but I fought against one once, and it took me like 3 turns. Well, I hit the Squigoth with a 6-man unit of 8-bound, a Lord on Juggernaut, and the Mauler Fiend, and shot at it with the Lord of Skulls. Oh yeah, no, I understand. So like it was it down is just a big deal. Because mine, when I took it down, it was like Land Fortress, Sagittarius. It was like tons of firepower. The other thing that he did is, he was doing Bully Boys. That's what it was. He was doing Bully Boys detachment with Flash Gits as like kind of like the core of his army. The thing with Bully Boys, they could do 2 Waa's. Oh god. So they can call Waa a second time. Also, hilarious, he has a little business card that he gives you when he calls a Waa, and it says, "I would like politely and respectfully inform you, Waa." It's hilarious. And then it actually lists like the rules, so like +1. Oh, very nice. So it's very useful, but it's just this, I would respectfully like to, Waa. Yeah. And of course, we're playing the orcs, so anytime somebody would Waa, then everyone else in the room, Waa, and, it was great. But he did that twice, and one of the things you get on the Waa is you get feel no pain across the board. So there were 2 different turns where the Lord of Skulls was doing the strike on a unit of knobs, because they have like 4 wounds apiece.
which is 8 damage when he hits. So I would hit, and like it's 6 attacks. I would hit with 4 of them. I would wound with 4 of them. And then he would proceed to make enough feel no pain saves that I would kill a knob. I'm like, are you freaking kidding? This thing should be like, this thing does 8 damage, and you're saving like 5 of them.
Dice
like,
were hot.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then as soon as the wall ended, I immediately like wiped through that unit. I was like, Anyway, it was a fun game. It was very fun. We were down in I don't remember which room it was.
Ingram?
It was Ingram, but I don't remember like what planet it was on.
I don't remember. I knew it had lightning pictures on the wall.
Yeah, it had like yeah. No, it was very cool. Rachel, who was the sister of Battle Dallas Open, was our Voxel Callum that game. So yeah, that was.
I'll go with this. Our Voxel Callum in the first game was a Eldari Corsair.
Mm-hmm.
Not Corsair, but pirate.
Corsair. I think Corsair, yeah. I think it's actually specifically Corsair, yeah.
And it was fun chatting with him because we got to like talk. He's like, we were talking about trading and making deals. So like, yeah, we just make deals and we get
our Voxel Callum for the first game was a human Tau mercenary.
Oh, that's right.
And I had some fun banter with him because he's like, you're also Tau, but I don't like you. And I'm like, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
I can't say anything about the Voxel Callum in my second game because he really didn't interact.
The one thing I'll say is, and this was kind of the downside in the first one, is that because it's smaller rooms, our Voxel Callum had to do 2 different rooms, so he was bouncing back and forth between the rooms. So I wouldn't be surprised if yours for the second one was also like managing 2 or 3 rooms.
No, it was a bigger room.
Okay.
So yeah, in my second one, we were in the volcano area.
Yeah.
It was hot. I had to take my coat off because they turned the temperature up.
Oh, I took, as soon as like the game started, I took everything off. Like I took the armor off, I took the helmet off. I'm like, because I cannot see out of the helmet because it is the eye hole is I did it wrong. The eye hole's in a spot where I can barely if I printed it larger, I could see out of the top one. But anyway, it's very fun and interesting to walk around with it.
Yeah.
And then, so I immediately took all that off, and I'm just but it's still very hot.
Yeah. But the interesting thing about our second room is 2 battle groups in that room.
Yep.
So it was a bigger room.
Bigger room. Okay.
And so, I could see him kind of just watching. So, I mean, I assumed he was like, because he's dressed in a black robe and whatnot, I assumed he was just a chaos cultist or something. But our room was pretty much interlopers versus Imperium. So he might not have just had anything to say because there's no chaos at all.
True.
So this is where I got to face what I'm going to call one of my nemesis, which is Dark Angels. Specifically, Deathwing. And Deathwing Knights.
You should like Deathwing Knights. You should know how to beat them, since you play them.
Oh yeah, you fire lots of strength or 1 damage shots at them. They will eventually fail all those saves. But my list is a lot of 2 damage shots that they reduce down to 1 damage.
So it's still 1 damage.
Yeah, but I have fewer shots than like 60 Termagants.
Sure.
Which is what I have to deal with when I play mine.
That's fair.
No, but it was interesting and fun. He started out, he had a repulsor, which I knew what to do with. I said, that's the target. I judged that right away, like, yeah, that's one of the 4. I also, for better or worse, judged his one of his 2 squads of 6 Inner Circle. Because, especially the one with the Juicer card, because I know Fate fights first. I don't like fights first, because it's bad.
Fights first is amazing if you have it.
Right, but it's bad for me. And all of his Terminators, because I needed to get rid of the Terminator. Because he has maces. Maces can really hurt vehicles. And like you said, this was the one where we have to branch out and try to, like, get objectives. Or place objectives. So I designed my deployment to where I'd hit, like, the 2 far corners. And at the start of the game, that kind of worked, where it looked like we were going to have 3 battle zones. One in, like, one corner, one in the far other corner, and then the middle. And the middle was just a mess. Yeah, I put one of the land fortresses there just to try and take down Deathwing Knights. Put my Thunderkin out in front to be a speed bump and do some blast shots at them. And no, I think by the time those guys got into melee, I'd killed one of the 5 of them. And yeah, it did not go well.
That's not great. You want to kill more of them.
His other one that he did deep strike in with his Deathwing Assault ability, I mean, it's a 30-point enhancement, so I don't begrudge him for that. It took out a Sagittar like it was paper. Thankfully, I was able to back things away. But then I got into his thing. He pretty much, the middle was just a big mass assault. And so what we did there was, after we did all that, on my turn, I knew he was going to kill me in assault. So I'm like, let's back everybody up. I won't shoot you, but at least I won't die to this. So I fell everything back. And it worked. Because what happened, like, on the far edge, I ran my Sagittar that was not engaged away. His Deathwing Knights chased that, left the squad of warriors there, and the Hearthkin warriors were able to go to the far corner and plant an objective. Which then later in the game, he had his jump infantry go and kill them and took them off of it, but it still spread it out to the part where we got to the close to the end of the game. The middle was dead. Nothing was there. Because he blew up my land fortress. My land fortress actually exploded.
Oh, nice.
It took out my last Thunderkin that was in front of it.
Oops.
But it took out another his Deathwing Knights. So he was down to 3. out of the... So, but he then moved his 3 down, and I'd like all my forces that were retreating and kind of regrouped. We took out those 3. So I did kill one of his Deathwing Knight squads with lots and lots of shooting. Like 2 Sagittars, the Thunderkin, or the Iron Master, the Call, and everyone in the Call's unit. It took all of that, and then finally it took the Iron Master getting up into melee with the last guy. So much effort just to kill one squad of 5. And then
that's crazy.
And then based on that, I had finally gotten the middle. The middle was empty. I was like trying to move to the other side because 2 objectives were in the far fringe. He now had both of those. And so all that was left on the other side, because we were fighting, doing things, I was finally cleared him out. He'd already killed so many of my units, but I got there. So I had like 1 Sagittar in 1 point, 1 Sagittar in another point. Oh yeah, all of my Einherjar Guard and the champions. Yeah, his other Deathwing Knights with swords.
Ooh, yeah.
They just melted one of the squads. Then they left that point because I had a lot of shooting coming at them.
Yeah.
Because he did the advance and charge detachment, the White Scars one.
Yeah.
So then he advanced and charged my other squad that was on the other point, got rid of all of them in 1 round of melee. So it's like, wow.
Jeez.
I was able to like recover those points, and then we were on turn 5, and it's like, well, the only thing I've got left I can do is, well, we can like send the land fortress over. I can shoot at you. You've only got 4 guys left, and if it fails, then I can always like charge and tank shock. Which I think had I done all that, I could have maybe not killed them, but got my OC higher than theirs to take the point. But he said, well, does this even matter? And we talked it through. No, because I had dropped 4 points, he had dropped 2. So I had point advantage there. And then we both were holding 3, so my point advantage wins. Yeah. But yeah, that mission, you need to be the one dropping the points.
Yes. Yeah. That was my mistake, is that I only dropped 1, and I should have... I had another opportunity later in the game to drop another one that I could have dropped and claimed, and it would have made it closer. Instead, I did the infamy. Like, I picked up a relic, because it's an action.
You can do more than 1 action on your turn.
Can you do more than 1 action?
Not with the same unit, but with different units.
I mean, with the Warlord. I had the opportunity to either drop a point, and instead I picked up the relic, because I was like, no, I want to pick up a relic.
Oh, my Warlord didn't drop any points.
Yeah. He was the only one that was... Angron was the only one that was unengaged at that point.
Oh, right, because you are... Yeah.
So he was the only one that was unengaged. Everything else was tied up. So it's like, that's all I
had
could
plenty of unengaged units.
Yeah. So I actually fundamentally probably mixed the unit, like the lists that I built up. The first game against Custodes, I took a much more infantry-heavy list because I was planning on kind of ramping up to using the bigger things. And then the second game, I saw the Squiggoth and the Battle Wagon, and I'm like, well, I need to take big things to hit that. And I probably could have... That's a game where I should have had more smaller units, like the Jackals out there, just dropping points. And I think that would have helped. But...
Here's another solution. Just build a 2,000-point list. Don't change it. Just run with it.
Yeah. How would I do that?
Because you don't have a very wide model range, and that's all you can do.
But I've got a bunch of cool conversions that I want to show you.
Fair.
So we'll get to the cool conversions I want to show people shortly here. So you ended up winning your game?
Yep. I've now won both. I got my fame in both. Yeah, so it's been enjoyable. Both games went really long, but both of them felt like social occasions.
Yes.
I mean, we're playing a game, but because of the extra time, it felt like we can just talk, we can chill, we didn't feel rushed.
The 4 hours, the 4 hour time frame, and the fact that it's narrative and pace of play it feels
the pace is a little slow, but I mean,
it feels a lot more relaxed,
casual.
which is great. So with my first game, it took us a while. It took us like a solid 30 minutes to get like armies out, battlefield set up. Like it took forever to like get going. But once it got going, it was fine. And like that was mostly me because I haven't played a game in 6 months.
Well, and like the guy I played said, there's been a few months for him too with the Dark Angels player, and then also at the start of the second round, I did not have an opponent.
Yes.
So they had to find someone and bring them in.
We had our first game where Joe actually didn't have an opponent, but they ended up finding somebody, or like I think pulled somebody from another battle group over to have him get a game in. We were talking to one of the guys that works for GW, and he mentioned that like 50 employees or something that are like helping
53.
53. And that's running the whole thing. Like,
right.
That's the World Championships, not just the narratives. The store. You can definitely tell there's more people here this year. Like
it feels smoother. It feels like there's more support everywhere.
Yes. So it's that A+ in that regard.
And the other thing that was a change from last year this year is the Vermilion Protocol.
Yes.
And I love it because I mean I've done LARPs before. And like in the past, you always have to have a way of like saying whether you're in or out of character. Yes. And so the best way we always did at LARPs was you just grabbed your badge because everyone had a badge, and you just like covered it up because no, you don't see a badge. No, I'm not, and that's how you knew. And here, their version is Vermilion Protocol.
Yeah.
And so you can just if you say that to any staff, then they'll drop out of character to just talk to you. But because they're really trying to enhance the experience by having all staff members stay in character 100% of the time.
Absolutely. And it's great. Like, it's awesome. And there's a lot more people this year in cosplay than there were last year.
Yeah.
Because last year, maybe 20-30% of people, I would say it's much closer to 50.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of people that are in street clothes, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot more people that are fully engaged with all of that, and I think that's really neat.
The other crazy thing with that is you see people with the same one from previous years.
Yes.
And it's like, oh yeah, I remember you. Because I mean, I got remembered as the goggles guy.
Yes. People have remembered my Tau army, and and remember playing me last year. Like, so that was very cool. So after the games ended, we went back and we did our final briefing for the evening, which was basically we play summary for how the day's going and how many relics and stuff were required. Imperium is getting wrecked, which is awesome.
Which I also find kind of funny in a way, because now when we talk through our games, I had one Chaos fight and one Imperium fight. Mm-hmm. And you had one Orc fight and one Imperium fight.
Yeah.
So, man, the Imperium, are they fighting themselves, or what's going on there?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know how they're doing it. I do like that they've done a more concerted effort to like not have to like Imperium.
Yes.
Like I did last year, because last year it was 5 Imperium in a row and then Xenos at the end. So, like, it feels like they're mixing it up a little bit more. It feels like they probably just a little more... And like I said, that's probably not for everybody. I'm sure there's other groups that have had to face Imperium twice in a row. But, yeah, it feels like they're rotating it around a little bit better this year. So far, Imperium got another key. So they have 2 of 6, because they basically need 6, I think is the total.
1 per game, right?
Yeah. And then, well, that's what I was thinking. But then Chaos and the...
Interlopers.
And interlopers. I was trying to remember what they call it. They got 2. And I don't know if that's from Kill Team or like how they're specifically doing that, or if it's...
From what I'm gathering, it's a little bit of Kill Team. Especially the first one was more Kill Team.
Yep.
But this one, I think, was more how many relics did your faction recover.
Okay.
That's my thought.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. So I'm interested
to see,
We don't
fully know because they're not peeling down...
Yeah, they're not going to tell you all that stuff, which is fine. I like there being a mystery. Like, that's part of the game. Part of this is figuring out how the game works.
Yeah. Because truthfully, in real life, you don't know how the game works.
Absolutely. Chaos and the Interlopers have 3 of the 6, and Imperium has 2 of the 6. So, yeah, very fun so far. Very good first day. The only other thing that I'll mention is we did the army display paint judging. And I got picked for the army display again, which was very cool. So I was able to set it up, and set up with a bunch of armies that are so much better painted than mine. I set mine down next to this really awesome kind of desert tan brown Tyranid army that looked amazing. I was glad to be included. It was a lot of fun. Got a lot of good comments. People came by because I was standing there kind of in the cosplay. It was so funny because you'd see people go, "Oh my gosh, Chaos Tau, that's so crazy. Whose army is this?" And look at me as I'm standing there in my... And he's like, "Is this yours?" And I'm like, what do you think? Come on, man.
No, my favorite one was when a GW staff member came by.
Yeah.
And we said, "Hi," and then he looked at me, and I'm sitting right next to Kevin. Kevin's in his outfit, and he looks at me and says, "Oh, nice costume."
I'm gonna assume he just doesn't like chaos. I don't know. I when that happened, I was like...
I was not going to say anything and see if Kevin didn't notice.
No, I noticed.
Because he can't see out of the front of that?
Yeah, I can't see anything, but I did... No, it's hard for me to hear with the helmet on because it's a little too tight, so I can't really hear. I can't see anything, but I heard that.
Kevin, your outfit looks really good.
Thank you.
It is cool.
Thank you. All right, I think that's all for day one. Day one.
We'll get to Saturday in another day.
Yeah, we'll come back briefly for Saturday. Thank you.